SCP villains aren't your garden variety scary stories. These are meticulously documented horrors that make Stephen King look like Dr. Seuss. Today, we are going to be analyzing terrifying SCP villains that make escape impossible. 1, 2, 3, let's enter the labyrinth together. 5. SCP-96. The Shy Guy. Let's start with what appears to be the Foundation's most emotionally unstable resident, SCP-96, affectionately known as the Shy Guy. Don't let the nickname fool you. This isn't some awkward teenager hiding behind their hair. This is a pale, emaciated humanoid standing 2.38 meters tall, with arms that would make a gorilla jealous, and a face that's basically a one-way ticket to oblivion. Here's where things get delightfully terrifying. SCP-96 is completely docile until someone sees its face. And by sees, we mean any visual representation. Photographs, videos, drawings, even artistic interpretations. Once you've gazed upon those fateful features, congratulations, you've just triggered what researchers call a 96-1 event, and you've officially become SCP-96-1, a designation that comes with a 100% mortality rate and 0 customer satisfaction. The moment someone views its face, SCP-96 enters what can only be described as an unstoppable rage mode. It begins screaming, and we're not talking about your neighbor's karaoke night. This is a sound that reportedly causes severe psychological distress to anyone within a significant radius. Then comes the running. SCP-986 becomes absolutely relentless in its pursuit of whoever saw its face. It doesn't matter if you're on the other side of the planet, locked in a bunker, or hiding in space, this thing will find you. It's demonstrated the ability to break through reinforced steel doors like they're made of tissue paper, survive direct missile strikes, and apparently possesses some form of supernatural tracking ability that makes GPS look primitive. The most terrifying part of it all, there's no reasoning with it, no bargaining, no last-minute reprieve. Once you've seen the face, your fate is sealed. The Foundation has documented cases where SCP-96 has traveled across continents, through military blockades, and past every conceivable obstacle to reach its target. And when it does reach you, well, let's just say the cleanup crew needs more than a mop and bucket. At least with SCP-96, your suffering has an endpoint. Death, while unpleasant, is final. Our next villain, however, believes that death is just the beginning of your problems. 4. SCP-16, the Old Man. Meet SCP-106, known as the Old Man, though calling him elderly is like calling a hurricane a bit breezy. This entity appears as a heavily decayed humanoid, looking like someone took a person and aged them through several centuries of the worst possible experiences. His skin is black and exhibits a consistency described as rotting flesh, and he's constantly producing a dark, corrosive substance that can dissolve through most materials. Essentially, he's what happens when someone takes the concept of aging gracefully and throws it into a blender set to nightmare mode. SCP-106's most charming ability is his capacity to phase through solid matter, creating his signature calling card, large holes of corroded material wherever he passes through. Walls, floors, ceilings. Nothing stops this walking catastrophe from going wherever he pleases. It's like having a house guest who not only doesn't wipe their feet, but actively melts the floor with every step. But here's where SCP-106 really earns his spot on this list. He doesn't just kill his victims. Oh no, that would be too merciful. Instead, he prefers to take them on a little vacation to what researchers have dubbed his pocket dimension, a hellscape that makes Dante's Inferno look like a luxury resort. This pocket dimension is described as a vast, decaying labyrinth filled with the stuff of nightmares. The architecture seems to shift and change, making escape impossible, while the very environment appears designed to inflict psychological and physical torture. Victims who have somehow managed to return, usually because SCP-106 got bored with them, describe endless corridors filled with the sounds of screaming, rooms that defy physics, and encounters with entities that may be other victims transformed beyond recognition. The truly horrifying aspect of SCP-16 is his apparent enjoyment of the process. Unlike other SCPs that kill out of instinct or compulsion, the Old Man seems to derive genuine pleasure from the suffering he causes. He's been observed exhibiting what can only be described as amusement when causing pain, and he has a disturbing tendency to release victims who are severely traumatized, only to recapture them later, like a cat playing with a mouse. The Foundation has struggled with containing SCP-106 precisely because of his phasing abilities and intelligence. Traditional containment methods are useless when your prisoner can walk through walls like they're made of mist. The current containment protocol involves a rather disturbing process that we won't detail here, but let's just say it requires a level of moral compromise that keeps Foundation ethicists up at night. If you like this deep dive into SCP villains, like and subscribe to this channel to keep up to date. Don't forget to share to all those that are fans of the SCP universe. Speaking of keeping people up at night, our next entry takes insomnia to a whole new level. Because who needs sleep when you can have eternal, mind-bending terror? 3. SCP-338, the Infinite IKEA. Now, you might be thinking, how can a furniture store be terrifying? Well, congratulations on discovering the exact thought process that leads people to become SCP-382 instances. SCP-382 appears to be a perfectly normal IKEA store from the outside, complete with the blue and yellow exterior, Swedish meatballs, and that distinctive smell of particle board and broken dreams. But step inside during the wrong moment, and you've just entered what might be the most psychologically devastating trap in the entire SCP universe. It is an infinite retail space that extends far beyond what should be physically possible. We're not talking about a big store. We're talking about a retail space that appears to have no boundaries, containing seemingly endless showrooms, warehouses, and departments stretching in all directions. It's like someone took the concept of getting lost in IKEA and cranked it up to cosmic horror levels. The store operates on a day-night cycle, but here's where things get genuinely terrifying. When night falls, indicated by the store lights dimming, the staff becomes hostile. And by hostile, we mean actively murderous. These aren't your typical retail employees having a bad day. SCP-31 instances are tall, faceless humanoids in IKEA uniforms who become extremely aggressive toward customers during the night phase. They patrol the store with the dedication of the world's most efficient security guards, except their security protocol involves violently attacking anyone they encounter. Here's a shocker though. People have been trapped in SCP-38 for years. The store contains small communities of survivors who have learned to build fortifications out of furniture during the day and hide from the hostile staff at night. These survivors, designated SCP-3882, have established entire settlements within the store, complete with leaders, rules, and survival strategies. Some have been there so long, they've formed families and raised children who have never seen the outside world. The psychological horror of SCP-3008 is multifaceted. First, there's the claustrophobia of being trapped in an endless retail space. Imagine being surrounded by furniture displays and fake room setups for the rest of your life. Then there's the constant stress of the day-night cycle, where you have limited time to gather supplies and fortify your position before the murderous staff come hunting. Add to this the social dynamics of being trapped with other survivors, some of whom may not have your best interests at heart. The Foundation has been unable to establish reliable contact with SCP-38's interior, and rescue attempts have resulted in rescue teams becoming trapped themselves. The entrance to the store seems to be random. Sometimes you can walk in and out normally, other times you step inside and find yourself in the infinite space with no way back to the exit. But if you think being trapped in an endless furniture store is bad, wait until you meet our next contestant, who proves that sometimes the real monster is the bureaucracy we made along the way. 2. SCP-2521. And now we reach the point where things get so terrifying that we literally cannot tell you everything about this SCP without potentially putting you in danger. Meet SCP-2521, whose name we cannot speak, whose nature we cannot fully describe in words, and whose existence represents one of the most innovative and genuinely unsettling concepts in the entire SCP universe. SCP-2521 is what's known as an information hazard, an entity that becomes dangerous simply by knowing about it. Here is the scary truth. SCP-2521 specifically targets information about itself. Any written or verbal information describing SCP-2521 will attract the entity, which will then proceed to take that information, along with whoever created or possesses it. The entity appears as a tall, dark humanoid figure with what can only be described as ribbons or tendrils extending from its body. It moves with an unsettling fluidity and seems to be drawn to information about itself like a moth to flame. When it arrives, it doesn't just destroy the information, it takes it, along with anyone who has detailed detailed knowledge of its properties to an unknown location from which they never return. This creates a horrifying catch-22. The Foundation needs to study and contain SCP-2521, but the very act of documenting their research puts researchers at risk. The solution they've developed is both ingenious and deeply unsettling. All documentation about SCP-2521 is done entirely through pictograms and symbols, creating a visual language that somehow doesn't trigger the entity's attention in the same way that written or spoken words do. The psychological horror of SCP-2521 lies in its violation of one of our most fundamental assumptions about knowledge, that information is power, and that understanding something gives us control over it. SCP-2521 flips this concept on its head. The more you know about it, the more danger you're in. Knowledge becomes not just useless, but actively harmful. The entity seems to have some form of omniscience regarding information about itself. It can somehow detect when someone is writing about it, talking about it, or even thinking about it in too much detail. This creates a paranoid atmosphere where researchers must constantly self-censor, never allowing themselves to fully understand what they're dealing with. The implications are staggering. Imagine trying to contain something you can't fully research, can't completely understand, and can't safely document. Every breakthrough in understanding brings the risk of the entity's attention. Every piece of research must be carefully crafted to avoid triggering its response. It's like playing chess while blindfolded against an opponent who can see all your moves. Now we move to our last villain. 1. SCP-682, the hard-to-destroy reptile. At the absolute pinnacle of SCP terror sits SCP-6082, officially designated hard-to-destroy reptile, though that clinical name does absolutely nothing to convey the cosmic-level threat this entity represents. If the previous entries on this list were nightmare fuel, SCP-6082 is the entire nightmare factory, complete with a hostile takeover of your worst fears and a comprehensive business plan for making your existence miserable. SCP-602 appears as a large, vaguely reptilian creature of variable size, usually measuring approximately 4 or 5 meters in length. But here's where things get interesting. Variable size doesn't mean it occasionally goes through growth spurts. This thing can adapt its physical form in response to threats, damage, or apparently just for the sheer spite of it, it's been observed, regenerating from as little as 12% of its original mass, growing additional limbs, developing new sensory organs, and basically playing fast and loose with the laws of biology like they're more suggestions than rules. The entity is composed of what appears to be an incredibly durable organic material that can regenerate from almost any form of damage. Acid baths slow it down temporarily, extreme temperatures make it grumpy, and direct nuclear strikes just seem to make it more creative in its revenge fantasies. Foundation has tried everything short of launching it into the sun, and honestly, they've probably considered that too. But SCP-682 keeps coming back, stronger, smarter, and angrier than before. But what truly elevates SCP-602 to the #1 spot isn't just its near indestructibility, it's its intelligence, and its absolutely unwavering hatred of all life. This isn't some mindless monster acting on instinct. SCP-682 is highly intelligent, capable of speech, and possesses what can only be described as a philosophical commitment to the complete eradication of all living things. It doesn't just want to kill you, it wants to kill everything that has ever lived, everything that currently lives, and everything that might potentially live in the future. During interviews, SCP-6182 has demonstrated not just intelligence, but a sophisticated understanding of concepts like suffering, fear, and despair. It doesn't kill quickly or efficiently. It takes time to ensure maximum psychological impact. It's been observed taunting victims, describing in detail what it plans to do to them and their loved ones, and showing a disturbing level of creativity in its methods of causing harm. The entity has demonstrated the ability to adapt to virtually any containment method or termination attempt. Exposure to other SCPs has resulted in it developing new abilities. It's gained immunity to mind control, resistance to reality warpers, and has even shown the ability to temporarily neutralize other anomalous effects. It's like evolution's answer to the question, what would happen if we made something that learns from every attempt to kill it? What makes SCP-6182 the ultimate nightmare is its combination of intelligence, adaptability, and pure malevolence. Other SCPs on this list are terrifying because of what they do to individuals. SCP-6182 is terrifying because of what it represents, an entity that actively seeks the extinction of all life and possesses the intelligence and adaptability to potentially achieve that goal. The Foundation has established an entire research division dedicated to finding ways to permanently neutralize SCP-6182, leading to some of the most desperate and creative termination attempts in Foundation history. They've tried exposing it to reality-bending entities, temporal anomalies, and even other hostile SCPs, often with results that make the situation worse rather than better. Perhaps most terrifyingly, SCP-682 has shown the ability to learn and remember. Each containment breach teaches it something new about Foundation procedures, security measures, and potential weaknesses to exploit. It's not just escaping, it's conducting reconnaissance for future escape attempts. Every interaction makes it more dangerous, every containment failure provides it with new information to use against its captors. The psychological impact on Foundation personnel is significant. Working with SCP-602 means accepting that you're dealing with an entity that not only wants to kill you personally, but has the intelligence to make that death as meaningful and impactful as possible. It's been known to remember individual researchers, security personnel, and administrators, often making specific threats that demonstrate detailed knowledge of their personal lives, families, and fears. The SCP Foundation universe excels at taking our deepest, most primal fears and giving them form, intelligence, and purpose. These entities don't just threaten individuals, they threaten our fundamental assumptions about safety, knowledge, death, and existence itself. They represent scenarios where there are no heroes, no last-minute saves, and no happy endings. There's just the cold, clinical documentation of humanity's ongoing struggle against forces that range from incomprehensible to actively malevolent. If this gave you chills, smash that like button. Don't miss out on more spine-tinkling content, hit subscribe, and ring that notification bell.